After emptying his wallet, running out of IOU tickets, and working himself half to death for 4 years, Matt Gilgenbach was finally done. Finally, Retrograde, the backwards driving shoot-em-up, which was more of a music game, could be released on the digital store shelves. But despite it being well liked by critics, it was never able to see commercial success. Retrograde ended up as an economic failure in every sense of the word. They didn't even get back their $140,000 that Matt and his colleague Justin Wilder had scraped together out of their own pockets to make the game. For Matt, who had a history of clinical depression, this was a huge setback. The obsessive-compulsive neurotic tendencies and the thoughts about self-harm that he'd previously been able to keep in check thanks to therapy were starting to come back. Despite his hard work and despite all the acclaim he had generated, he was now returning to that private dark abyss he'd been fighting so hard to crawl out of. That's when he got the idea. Instead of fighting against the darkness, he was going to invoke it. If he couldn't make a game about backwards flying spaceship, he was going to make a game about his depression and put a price tag on it. The 2D horror game Neverending Nightmares looks like a mix between a black and white pen and paper drawing and a classic copper etching. It was in all conceivable ways a total opposite of the neon sparkling Retrograde, which was also the point. Neverending Nightmares is more Matt Gilgenbach than Retrograde ever was. Here you find graphic, explicit scenes where characters pull their veins out of their arms or bend off the bones in their forearms, the fantasies that Matt himself has been fighting with when his self-harm was at its worst. The goal with Neverending Nightmares was just to live through an infinite stream of nightmares. Every night you wake up sweaty after a new nightmare, and every time you step out of bed, your surroundings have changed. Reality blends into insanity in a way that makes it impossible to separate one from the other. When you encounter a deformed creature slowly creeping forward in the corridor, or a freezer filled with hanging corpses, you really start to think to yourself, is this really happening? Or am I going crazy? For Matt Gilgenbach, working on Neverending Nightmare became a way to cope with the monumental failure of Retrograde. In an interview with Polygon, he tells how he can't even bring himself to play his previous game anymore. Not because it's bad, but because it hurts. To GameSpot, he told how the music game developers Harmonix probably could have made a much better Retrograde than he ever could. But no one could ever take away the fact that he is the only one who could ever create Neverending Nightmares, even though the result this time hurts the player just as much as it hurts the developer to play.